The first tap of a conductor's wand. The first rivet in a mile-high tower. The master link at the genesis of a never-ending chain. The moment a single empty canvas meets a singular master stroke. There is no one thing. Because now, there are many. Because soon, there will be more. Because one is ever the beginning. Like the first link in an infinite chain, or the first rivet in the tallest skyscraper. The master stroke is found in the masterpiece. What will you begin?
Hello and welcome to World Blockchain Roundtable. This is episode 105. It's an amazing topic. Everybody here is going to love it. You're going to be so excited. But let's introduce our panel first. I'm your host, John Branch. Joining me as always is Litecoin Lisa. Today we have Oren joining us again. We've got Satoshi Sean. And we have Greg from Rivet. How's everybody doing today?
Really great, man.
Wonderful.
Excited to be here.
Everybody sounds super enthused for today's topic. I think you're just saving your energy is what I think it is.
I actually did just get some insurance just like the other day for a very particular purpose. It's very kind of interesting. So oddly enough, it may dovetail in the conversation, but needless to say, there's a company that does cryonics that will be receiving a benefit from me in the event that I have an early demise, because I'm signed up for Alcor now. So,
okay, awesome. So we're going to get into that. Today, if you haven't figured it out, today's episode is Reinventing Insurance for the Mobile Generation. I'm guessing that's just people that grew up with mobile cell phones. I don't know how else to figure that out. Great. We're going to take care of a little bit of business from last week. Each host last week is going to receive 106 lot. Each topic contributor is going to receive 44 lot. Last week's theme was fiat on and off ramps, which was proposed by Derox, who's going to receive 44 lot for that. These ownership tokens come with perpetual passive income, free edits, and governance votes. And also, we want to take a look at the June themes. The June theme results are in, and here they are. These are the winners. So this is what we're going to be talking about next month. The first one we have there is Den.Social, from concept to present day and beyond. I know there was a rule that we're not going to talk about Den on this show or like have show specifics to that, but it won. So the people spoke. That's what we're going to do now. So that way, if you want to change our rules, know you can do it that easily. Just by voting. Just go vote and we'll change our rules. Artificial intelligence. I think everybody's favorite topic right now. Blockchain and healthcare. Decrees as blockchain king or queen. Not sure what that is, so I am. Hopefully he comes on the show and can lead us through that one. And then quantum computing and encryption. Anything that the panel you guys are excited for on this list?
The healthcare one, for me, I have a medically fragile child and had another child that passed away that had significant health issues, and going to the hospital multiple times, it was always an issue, especially in a crisis, that like giving history and whatever, but having privacy was an issue. And I feel like blockchain could have been really helpful in a situation like that, where you could have had, all of their history stored and properly in a way that could be accessed quickly and exchanged, different hospitals or shared, but with encryption and using the history of blockchain, because it was just like, if I didn't keep it all in a binder and then go through each doctor, that I met with, like it would have gotten lost and people would have missed, oh, well, what about this test or that time that you tried this med or, whatever.
I almost think we need something like radical change when it comes to the medical stuff too, especially since COVID, because we went from a point of, like Lisa was talking about, like such strict HIPAA and nobody talked about it, and you had to go over everything to like
it was really
like your
difficult.
barista wanting to know your health information.
Yeah.
Well,
Such a change that we need something to like snap it back into the way it should be.
And if you want to hear us talk about that, join us, ask us questions, and go get involved with the blockchain and healthcare. You know, it's going to be a passionate and wonderful topic that week. My wife's a physician, so I love to talk about that stuff too. Yeah, the healthcare industry is always about 10 or 20 years behind everybody else. So let's, give them some advances. Anything else that people are excited about?
I'm excited to actually talk about AI. We talked about it 100 times, but I'm going to submit some questions on it. I want to look at it when it was more philosophical and on the human side of it than other stuff.
Yeah, AI changes every other week, so there's always going to be something new to talk about every month. Wonderful, great. Well, hopefully you join us for the rest of them too. That we're all excited about them, and let's get into this one. So this week we are talking about reinventing insurance for the mobile generation. Yeah, let's take a look at our first question here. The first question is from I Am for Am. The concept of your phone tracking you, your speed, and potential reckless driving is an option to either increase or reduce your auto insurance costs. We know that your data is sold over and over again. Question: Is this a good surrender of your privacy? Yeah, is this something we should actually be letting people know? Lisa, you want to start this one off for us?
I think if it can be that opt-in, I think that's the key here. Anytime that you're giving up your data, if it's an opt-in, so if you have the ability to turn it on or off, then sure, if you want to submit your data and say, hey, I'm a good driver and this is my choice to get cheaper insurance and and share that information in a live way, then I think that's a great idea. But it has to be an opt-in.
Okay, yeah, great. I think that's always an interesting idea too, where it's like an opt-in, so you get the benefits. But what if if you don't opt in, it's like an extra $500 or $1,000 a month? Like the opt-in benefit is so great that if you don't, it's not affordable, right? There has to be a way that like the opt-in and opt-out is both kind of has to be similar in proportional, right? I know I used to work for insurance companies, and we would if you didn't run your credit score, we would do like a soft hit on a credit score or your insurance score. And if you didn't, if we didn't run it, your insurance was going up by $400 or $500. I've seen, some people, it could be $1,000 difference, which is kind of insane. Yeah, Greg, go ahead.
I'm thinking that maybe the right thing to do is to build systems that allow people to retract their privacy or retract their information completely in a way that, let's say a company has a key that lets them read but not write to information that they need to make an assessment on you, and only that information, right? And let's say you retract that permission, right? The key goes away, and if we have strong policies in place, they didn't make a copy, right? So I think, and those are the kinds of policies that so far we've been shy about making, right? Like telling companies they can't copy your data and make it their own and enrich it. Is fraught area too, because to some extent that's what has to be done to make AI systems like the ones we want to use. But we need to come up with smart ways that are thoughtful, and it's not going to be as simple, straightforward answer, I guess.
Oren, yeah. What do you think? Do you think it's a good idea to surrender our privacy so we can have reduced rates or whatever else it is?
I think if you're opting in, right? I think if you have a choice, I think right now a lot of this information is automatically siphoned and taken from you. So if we could opt in and then get some value back, I think that would be a better and more beneficial system for all of the stakeholders involved. Again, if you're speeding, you probably don't want to opt in, but if you're a slow driver, you probably do want to opt in. So I think different people have different preferences, and giving people the breadth of scope to be able to choose is part of the choice that blockchain should offer.
Yeah, Sean, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, we've had this technology for a really long time. I would say for longer than we've had smartphones. For longer than we've had, I think, cell phones on a widely used area. We had OnStar, which was kind of basically the same thing, but it was a third party that had all the information that was plugged into everything in your vehicle. I mean, it was cool in the space age that they could unlock your car while you're sitting there or standing there outside, or they could, roll your windows down or do whatever. That was like, oh, it's so neat. But then that was also kind of scary because it was this third party that was, controlling your car and could, like I remember old movies and TV shows where they make your brakes fail or whatever. And then now we have insurance companies actually give you like a little thing you plug into your fuse box, which records all your stuff, but just for as long as you have it plugged in. And then you give them back the data and then they go over it. So it's really just kind of like a snapshot of your driving. For something it's like real time, it opens up a lot. But I think, like you said, you should have the ability to opt out of it, or to opt out of certain things like location. But then that's part of insurance of where you're driving. If your car's parked in the hood, it's going to be, your insurance is more expensive than if it's parked in the suburbs because it's more likely to get stolen. It's more likely, that's just, actuary stuff. So I think it's basically like everything else. We need to be more in control of the data and not how it's used, but who can get to it. So, to kind of stop it from being put out. But then also, if you're going to have this real-time information, then I think insurance needs to change. I really think insurance needs to change overall. I actually started like the first insurance blockchain company, and oh my God, it was difficult when it came to regulation. I knew it was going to be hard, especially on an international scale, but we couldn't do like anything that we wanted to do. There were so many hoops to jump through and things that were just not even going to be possible for years until, changing, because insurance is more regulated than banks. It's more regulated than anything else, which is, great for consumers. But it does stifle innovation so much.
Is it great for consumers? I think is the question.
There's definitely a balance. There's a balance where it is and isn't
better for
sure.
consumers in ways.
There are a lot of things that are good for consumers when it comes to insurance regulation. There's a lot of things where insurance companies have just learned to use the regulations for themselves.
Oh yeah.
But I think, like I was saying, with this real-time information, we could have like a real, like a month-to-month insurance. Your rate could completely change to where if your car is just sitting parked 90% of the time for that month, you should have a lower bill. It didn't go anywhere. You didn't use it. There was no risk. Mm-hmm. And then the next month, if you're, going out all the time or, your job's making you go around different places around your area, it could go up a little bit.
Right. Well, I mean, when you think about it, like during the lockdown periods, right, when people were not driving,
exactly,
the rates didn't change. Right?
Yeah, if you're smart,
it was just pure economic waste.
If you're smart, you just cancel all your insurance. If you had like, my kids, two of my kids still live here. Just cancel everything except for one vehicle. I mean, everyone's not going out, and if you are, you're all not going out. It's like getting Disney Plus just when The Mandalorian, is out, and then you cancel it. That's that kind of thing.
Well, that's frowned upon right now, but it shouldn't be. It ought to be part of the risk calculation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also think you brought up a good point in terms of just flexibility for some of these insurance plans and on a case by case basis and having variables that can factor that in. And maybe the blockchain can help with some of that. But I feel like some insurance plans just kind of have this broad approach when people have specific cases. And I think we need more factors to help give fair pricing based on the situation.
most insurance, the piece of advice I would always give to people when they would ask me insurance questions is your insurance broker should be your best friend. They should know everything about you because they need to make sure you're covered completely. And a lot of what insurance brokers will do will just be like, great, we're going to give you this plan and it's got all these different things. Well, I don't need half of them, right? Or I have credits that I should be getting that I'm not, for like really simple things. So like, I think that's also on the part of like your broker to make sure that you're actually covered the way you should. And a lot of brokers really, they don't know what they're doing. Their job is to smile and give you a plan and hope you come back and then you forget about it and just keep renewing it.
Let me pose a big, hairy question to the group then. Like, what do we think about, like, so DeFi, right? It took banks and it decentralized them. It made it so that you could be your own bank and while still earning interest from lending and some of the other things. Like, could it be possible to do risk pooling in such a way, such that you don't have underwriters at the Bank of England? You have underwriters that comprise a distributed network of people who may or may not know you directly, but trust that the trustless system will keep things at least honest. Is that something that's feasible to you guys? That's desirable to you guys? Does that sound good?
Group insurance, it's a pool of risk, so that's already a thing. And sinfully cerebral, that's the way it is now already. It's already that way. If you're in the city, your rates are much different than if you're in different parts of your same county.
Right, but like I'm talking in terms of.
Oh, I was talking to answering that question he said in chat.
Oh, okay. Sorry, yeah. I was talking literally in terms of like have the machine figure out the actuary stuff and have no middleman insurance company pulling its own value from the risk pool.
I think there's things similar to that, Greg, what you're talking about. Like there's a Christian group that they all like pool together to do health insurance. And so everybody pays a lower monthly thing together. But then if someone from the group has a health issue, then they pull from the group.
So like resource. A friendly society type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And I love friendly societies for health. Actually, it's one of my favorite modes for covering health risk.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things.
There's also a similar solution on Ethereum for, if you do DeFi on a certain platform, they'll cover, up to a certain amount. I think the idea is definitely plausible. I definitely might want to talk to a physical representative to get some questions answered. But I guess if we could have that there, then why not, right?
Just make sure it's a good representative because they'll just answer your question and it might not be a real answer. So.
It could be an AI chatbot.
It might be possible then to find models of risk calculation that are heterodox, right? Like, so right now we have this sort of idea of risk, and this idea of risk is kind of monolithic because of how regulations are imposed, right? What if we took a proactionary principle-based risk pool and tried to build insurance off of that? What kind of things could we do, for example? That's just, I don't know what answer to that question. I just thought that was an interesting question to ask, but that sort of thing may be possible where it wasn't before.
I want to ask another question. Go back to like the I am for Amazon idea of, is it a good idea to surrender this information? What do we think about people or insurance companies getting information that we didn't give them? Right. So, all right, great. We're not going to opt into whatever thing that you want to know about us, but maybe I can go buy that information somewhere else about my consumer and then give a rate.
They actually do that now.
Yeah,
I have that now. I've talked about that. It's the MIB, which has been around for a super long time. It's the Medical Information Bureau. You have a MIB score, like a credit score, but it comes from all of your past health information. And like anytime, the doctor talks about, like the permanent record, that's what the permanent record is. There's stuff on there from when you got in trouble in school. But everything is in your MIB file. Most people don't know about it, and it's actually not easy to get your own MIB file. It's a lot easier for other people to get it.
You have to form a corporation and pretend like you're somebody surveillance capitaling you to do it. Like you have to get it by subterfuge.
Well, like employers can get certain information, but insurance companies, it's like their their bureau. They can get it all.
Okay, so you have to be like an admin. You have to be like an Edward Snowden at AIG in order to have Privac, right? Like,
yeah.
The other way that information is gathered and that can be purchased and is purchased by insurance companies is by your credit card information. I do a show with a guy, Johnny Litecoin, that he's in payment processing for years and years and years. And he was telling me about this, that credit card companies sell your data to insurance companies. And then, so you might get cancer one day, lung cancer, and you say you are a non-smoker, but the credit card company has proof that you purchase cigarettes all the time, and they'll deny your claim.
Well, they can't.
That's
I think
Well,
a good.
In theory,
After
I'm using that as an example, but he says they buy your data,
Mhm.
and they can deny your claim for different things.
even though it's
for
like it could
having
be an
your
unwarranted
data.
assumption because you could be going to the grocery store and buying a carton for grandma,
You buy for
right?
someone
Like,
else.
Sure,
But see,
but
for
I'm
this is one
using
thing I
that
was
as
talking
an
about how
example, that they buy your
regulation.
data to be able to deny
Right.
claims.
well, and it's the problem with metadata,
Um,
right? Just because you were on the
regulation
corner, what
benefits
happened, and you committed a
consumers in
crime.
this is because any insurance company, if you buy life insurance or whatever, they have what's called an contestability period, which is 2 years. So you could say, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do anything. And after 2 years and 1 day, a lot of cases you can commit suicide after 2 years because there's no contestability period after that. It doesn't matter. They usually don't do even an investigation because there's nothing they can get out of it unless it's some kind of big lie. It would have to be like you had cancer at the time of signing for it, and you knew it, and then you lied, but you already had the thing that killed you. But it's very difficult after 2 years because of the incontestability period. But within the first 2 years, they could hang it up. But then they wouldn't. I mean, if something like that, they could try, but
they can still sue you for civil fraud, though, right?
Yeah, there's maliciously fraudulent things that you can do if it's like that. But like you were saying, like all of a sudden I became a drinker after 2 years, like.
Right, just the remedy can't be rescission of the contract at that point.
Yeah,
I wanted to bring up or add on to basically Lisa's point that I think like data is really important, right? And we're like, how do we consent to give this data? But she brought up the point that like a lot of people lie, right? And Sean also brought this up, right? So how do we get that unconscious, like less biased information? And I feel like that's the reason why a lot of these bad data practices happen, because people lie, people overanalyze. And so we want this more subconscious information. And so
sensor data, metadata from how your clothing moves, right? You don't lie about that. Like, even if there's nothing interesting to learn there, that's just a dumb example, right? Like, how frequently your fridge door opens and closes is a good data point on how much you're getting into the fridge, right? But asking you to tell me how many times a day you go for a glass of milk, you might lie about it. Right? Or you might not really know. And
I'm on a diet, so I didn't go. Exactly.
Also, there's socially acceptable lies that are legally not okay. You don't know. Do you all know what's going on with Prince Harry? Oh, this just came out. He might be getting deported. Because he wrote his book and he said, "Oh man, I was a party guy. I did cocaine and pot and every kind of drug. I was like wild." So the government said, "Hey, on your visa application, you said you've never done drugs."
Oh, that's just punitive.
You said that you did drugs. So the government is looking at removing his visa now.
Well, it could have happened to a nicer guy. I don't think that's really good. Like,
I was watching this on the news and it blew my mind. But there's my nephew. He applied for a job at Pizza Hut years and years ago. And they told him, "No, we're not going to hire you. You failed the psychological evaluation for Pizza Hut." And I was like, "What, James?" He goes, "Yeah, I don't know. There's a question."
Did you do a word association test? Pepperoni.
No, but it was like, hey, if a customer, curses at you, would you A, curse at them back, and B, politely ask them to leave? And he was like, I curse at them back. He was honest about everything. That was the thing. I was like, you're not honest with that. You don't say what you really want to do,
unless you don't really want the job, unless it's on the terms that you want, right? Like, there's actually
like,
people should be
why? I'm like, yeah, but that's like socially acceptable.
Well, but I'm guessing if the follow-up question had been, if you were subject to an employment rule that said you couldn't do that, would you follow it?
Yeah,
I would have answered
I
yes.
was thinking that. I thought that too. Like, well, after training, this is just me as a person, but it's just one of those things where you wouldn't say, "Oh, I would cuss the guy out." Of course, no, you'd say no. I would be polite and just,
But it's also kind of, but I feel like they use those things as a passive aggressive way to tell you the rules. Like they could have just said, will you follow this code of conduct, and one of the items could be, I will be polite to customers at all times even when it's inconvenient, right? Like that could have been the one question. Did you read this? Did you process it?
It could be like, are you willing to conform and just say the thing that we want you to say? Are you willing just to say, yes, I would?
That's part of it.
That would be
right?
a good whatever. But yeah, I'm. We'll talk more about Prince Henry and all that fun visa stuff in the current events after this. We'll also talk about Pizza Hut. There's crazy stuff going on with Pizza Hut, so you're not going to want to miss current events section going on next. Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to ask too was like, what about just simple things that people can pull that doesn't even have even a malicious kind of side to it, where it's like, oh, we're going to buy your credit card information, like things that are just public access. Like I used to work in homeowners insurance. So like we could go on Google Maps and go look at your house and we could see what your backyard looks like, what your neighbor's yard looks like, all these different things to see if we want to underwrite your house. Yeah, we might say no because of all these other factors, but I can be like, hey, I can give a simple reason that I'm going to deny your policy or your claim or whatever it is based off of a Google Earth picture.
I think there's this misbegotten trade secrets thing going on with insurance companies, right? Like they don't really want to tell other people, other insurance companies, what their equation looks like. They don't want their actuaries to be sharing that information with their competitors' actuaries, right? Because that's ultimately the efficiency of that algorithm is their competitive edge, right? That's their moat.
You have to file that stuff,
right?
You have to file that.
You do, but you don't have to tell the other insurance company the details of it. You got sort of just like listing the ingredients on the back of a box. There are certain allowances for, the insurance equivalent of natural flavorings as a listed ingredient, right? And that's because they don't want to force insurance companies to reveal the Colonel's 12 spices or whatever, right? Like that kind of stuff is where the abuses happen, because that's the heart of the data they need. And the why of it is what consumers, I think, are left in the dark about in a way that causes conflicts of interest to happen, right? Like where they should really know, but they're afraid their competitor will find out, exactly how they measure this risk. And so they can't tell them in a way that's secure. And I think that's really the dangerous, where you get into dangerous territory, where they want to keep a secret from some people, but they don't necessarily want to keep it from their customers. But the only way to keep the secret from those people is to keep it from their customers too.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is how they measure, because I think a lot of those secrets, like they don't stay secret for that long, because insurance is also very like incestuous with like the people that work there. They bounce around companies all the time, so they kind of like learn these things. Everybody's friends with people at other insurance companies.
But actuaries are one of the most well-paid professions for a reason.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's also very hard to get that job. It's a lot of credentials and stuff you have to have. But like how much weight we give certain things, we're always trying to guess. Like how much rate do we want to give your credit score? How much rate do we want to give this? How much of a rate do we want to give this zip code or this area code or whatever it is?
Right. But how much do you rely on bays is a question that they're governed by an NDA when they're under employment contract to not answer, right? Like they can't answer questions about the statistics of it. And those are really the questions I think people need to understand in order to understand how their data is being used.
I want to ask another question to the panel. If you were to put together a blockchain insurance company, what or something along those lines, right? What's like a way that you would utilize blockchain now, or Web3 kind of things to right now make a difference in insurance? If you were to maybe either start your own thing or hey, I'm going to join Geico, but I'm going to overhaul everything. Is there kind of one thing that you think really could make a big difference immediately and make a large impact?
Well, I can tell you what we did with Hellas. And what we wanted to do is, imagine if you get car insurance and you take your phone and you take like 10 pictures of your car, side, back, all that. That's immediately stored on the blockchain. We utilize AI, and then you get into a car at a stop sign. Somebody hits you from behind. You pull over. The police come. You're doing that. You take the picture of the back of your car. The damage is there. The AI can compares that. It can you get the police report. You can take a picture or scan the police report at the accident scene, and then that's all. You're done. There's no long claims process. You don't have to wait for someone to come out and look at it. It's literally it's done, and it can transfer the money to your wallet at the accident scene. Before you drive off, you have nothing you're going to have to do again about this accident. Not going to affect your life. The accident's been put onto your record for future, but there's nothing more for the claim. It's done. It's so
you're saying claims processing could be really
claims processing is huge, but the thing we could only really do is travel insurance because that's one of the least regulated things.
Yeah.
But that's huge because with the claims process, how it usually works is you buy your travel insurance, you land in Egypt, and they've sent your luggage off. It's in Siberia, so it's going to be like 3 or 4 days to come back, and then you've got to go back to the airport. You've got to you have nothing there while you're on vacation. So if you're only there for a couple of days, you just have it sent back to your airport at home, and it's waiting for you to get back. You have nothing. Your trip is completely ruined. You have no clothes. You have all the things that you brought, any kind of chargers and all. Anyway, but literally there at the airport, you can file the claim, have the money put into your wallet, and you buy all new stuff. You still have all your clothes and everything when you get home. It's actually a better vacation because you got to buy all new stuff, or you have a boost, for your spending money while you're there. It's one of the, just little things like that blockchain could do. Also, like you were talking about, making a lot of this stuff transparent. That's kind of behind the curtain. But if there's a better way to skin the cat, it's kind of not very capitalist if you develop a new way. But maybe there's a way to put a copyright on that where it's transparent, but no one else can use it, or something like that for a certain period of time. I think the transparency is a big thing.
I think one thing it could be used for right away would be risk, or not risk, but beneficiary naming, because right now we have wills and we have estate laws and we have all of these probate processes that kind of get that wrong, and that can hold up some of the, like, especially when it comes to life insurance or serious injury insurance type of situations where somebody needs that money sooner than later. And right now the system allows for, well, you'll just go into debt, and then when you finally get your payment, you can get out from under all this nonsense, right? Like we can make it so that the risk of beneficiaries being contested is very, very low, because if someone signs with a private key that this is the beneficiary, right, and that when when you die it pays out to whoever, right? I think that would be a very cut and dried way to solve what right now can be a litigious problem that slows things down.
What do you mean? Because if there's a beneficiary, there's a beneficiary. If there's a secondary, it goes to the secondary.
Right, but was it properly named? Somebody contests it. Does that?
Honestly, when it comes to insurance companies, they don't want to mess with it because it's a headache and it costs money. It's not going to make
right. I'm not saying insurance companies necessarily do this, but it would improve the system.
Usually what happens is that they just get rid of the claim. As soon as that second person doesn't claim it, or if they're dead or whatever, they wait literally like 90 days and they send it to the state. And it goes to the unclaimed property.
Right, exactly. I think
that's when you got to go through all that crap.
We could probably make it so that doesn't happen anymore with blockchains, probably pretty easily.
I would like to just see more an easier way to manage my health files in a more centralized place to be able to access them and to be able to transfer these files between doctors. I recently was diagnosed with a type of skin cancer, and so I had to get a whole bunch of old documents to be able to affirm that and to be able to give it to my new doctor. And so I think just an easier way to kind of manage all of these different points would just provide a lot of ease for the consumer, as well as the healthcare providers, and as well as keeping it on chain, right? These are permanent records, so having some sort of immutable proof. I can do some sort of zero knowledge identity to verify that I am who I am, and then I can access my files as such. Because if it is our information, our history, it should be easy to access, and we should be able to own it. Yeah. And I feel like there's still a discrepancy between that, given the
right. And your doctor should need to pass around one QR code that you can have on a wristband that gets all of it right away, so they don't have to redo the same interview over and over and over again every time you see somebody new, right? Because technically they probably do know who you are and they can tell from the chart. But they're required by law right now to go through this because they need to re-verify all of that before they disclose anything about your health to you again, right? It's like part of the bureaucratic process, but it doesn't have to be. It can make bedside manner a whole new ball game, I think, which is pretty cool. That's a smart idea. I like that one.
Which, not to get into that, I know we're going to talk about it on Healthcare Day, but it also gets into the question of what do you do when the patient is not conscious, like in an emergency situation? Would they be able to? So that would be a good question on our Healthcare Day. We won't discuss it here, right, John?
DAOs
sure,
also
we're talking
make
insurance,
really great risk underwriters, wouldn't they?
What'd you say?
DAOs would also make really great risk underwriters. I think if you had a DAO combined with a prediction market, you could really do some amazing stuff.
I'm thinking about that. I don't know. Maybe.
People don't like prediction markets, but the reason isn't purely emotional because they're very effective. And I think if you combine that with should we take this risk based on this prediction markets assessment, you could have a consensus vote on a pool of capital that wouldn't require a lot of the capital controls that make insurance kind of a conflict of interest type of situation sometimes.
Interesting. Great. Cool. So I want to play a little game. We haven't done a game in a couple weeks. I want to play a little game because I've been struggling. Lately. Amanda, if you want to play that first video with the blue background. I've been struggling lately to come up with a catchphrase. I've been struggling to come up with a catchphrase, and I don't know what it should be. So I was hoping the panel could help me out here. If we want to pull up the little slide I've got a couple ideas that I wanted to run by you guys and see what we could do. All right. I'm glad you're enjoying this.
Dude, the graphics are great, man.
I'm glad you like it. So this is a little catchphrase. I'm trying to come up with something. So let me know if my catchphrase is a good idea. If you've heard of it before, just tell me where you've heard of it, so that way I know it's real. And then hopefully I can come up with something for the show, because World Blockchain Roundtable saying that every single time. It needs another catchphrase in there, I think. So to infinity and beyond. I think that's pretty good for the show.
Right. Well, the problem is I think wasn't it who's the current guy who's the chair of the Fed? Isn't that what he said about inflation?
All right, so maybe him. I heard Toy Story. You know what that reminds me? It was a guy named Buzz, not Buzz Aldrin, but Buzz Lightyear said that. So probably not a good idea.
Yeah, Buzz Lightyear. That's the current chair of the Fed, right?
Not Buzz Aldrin. Buzz Lightyear. What about here's Johnny? Because my name is John. Right, that's probably pretty good.
I like it.
That's the best so far.
Have you heard it anywhere else before? Is this original? I think it's
Johnny Carson, obviously, but but it's also, I think, a fair reference, right? Because it's been long enough, and crypto already has a tradition of having a crypto variant, right, of a personality from the past.
That's true. I feel like it might be a little narcissistic for a show that's not about me. For a show that talks about decentralization every single episode. Maybe I shouldn't have it be just
you could say, "Here's John B."
Yeah, it's still just me though. It doesn't solve the problem with
Karnak, and then you brought up John B. That's funny.
I love it. All right, here's another one. Virus in numerous.
What?
In numbers. Interesting. Who did say that?
I'm out on that one.
Do we talk about numbers all that much?
Number go up. I think we talk about number go up, number go down, number stay the same. We do. I'm going to be honest.
That would be Joe Rhodes then.
I feel I feel like we've talked about this before. This one's actually Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin's their catchphrase or whatever they have.
Okay.
What about this one? Code is law.
That is Lawrence Lessig.
Sure.
Yeah,
Is that the guy
Harvard law professor?
Oh, well, that's the guy. That's Ethereum's.
Actually. Yeah, well, I mean, Ethereum adopted it, but there's literally a book called Code where that phrase was coined by Larry Lessig. It's free online, actually. Everybody should read that book.
I did not know that. I just Googled things. So yeah. All right. Let's see what's next. Harness the dragon. I feel like that would be kind of cool. It's like riding a dragon. Like that's cool and powerful.
It's not the bad dragon sex toy theme, is it?
Nope, that's not it.
Okay.
Very specific reference that maybe somebody in the comments will get. Any ideas on what this could be?
This feels like a dragon chain. Well, I'm going to say the obvious.
This is dragon chain. What about the next one? With great power comes great responsibility. Spider-Man. I'm gonna say this is Uncle Ben from Spider-Man. Maybe we shouldn't take a catchphrase from a guy that dies in the first 10 minutes of the movie. Maybe not the best idea.
Oh, Stan Lee deserves credit for inventing that phrase, man.
All right, fine. It's already been used, so we can't steal it anyway. What about the best blockchain gateway on planet Earth? Anybody have a guess on this one? If not, I'm stealing it. Oh, it's Rivet. I didn't even mean to press it. That's Rivets. I think it's a pretty good one, so maybe we can't steal it from them. I don't know.
Plus, it's really hard to say emojis.
What about I'd like to buy a Val Pat?
Vanna.
What's a Val Pat?
Pat. That's Wheel of Fortune, right?
Wheel of Fortune.
Or not Wheel of Fortune. Yeah.
That was totally Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
Lisa, I feel like I do this to you every single time. It is not. It is just every. It's just every startup company. That's what it is. It's just every startup company.
Yes, they don't put
That's all it is. It's just every Silicon Valley startup company. That's all it is. So probably can't use them. There's a lot of people using it. So all right.
Brilliant.
Cool. So any other pitches for what would be a good catchphrase for the show? Do you guys have actually any ideas? Because I have nothing, and I'm usually good at this. Or in the chat, if you have a catchphrase idea, throw it in the chat, and we'll talk about it.
Actually, I think that might be the catchphrase. Throw it in the chat, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
No, because we never go to the chat. If Joe is here, it's like a big deal.
Or maybe throw it in the layer. And we'll talk about it.
Throw it in the layer.
Throw it in the layer. That's
doesn't have the same ring to it as throw it in the chat, does it?
Yeah, I don't know if I could end the show with and remember, throw it in the layer. Welcome to World Blockchain Roundtable. Throw it in the layer.
Arthurian quote, because there's because it's the round table and that. I was thinking what would be good from
a good King Arthur quote.
From a good Arthur saying.
Guinevere, what have you done?
Hey, how about this? The future doesn't start with you, but you is in there somewhere.
I like that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That works on so many levels.
Yes.
Did you steal that from somewhere, or is this
actually I stole it from myself. The original phrase was what was it? It was said this a long time ago, so I'm losing. It was like productivity doesn't start with you, but you was in there somewhere. It was always meant to be a tongue-in-cheek
next
joke.
Time someone says there's no I in team, I am going to counter with that. Just to throw them off. What?
Yep.
There's no I in team, but there is a me. That's what I always say.
It's funny because it's grammatically correct, even though it doesn't sound like it's grammatically correct.
Honestly, that might be the winner, unless anybody's got some other ideas. I think I'm gonna at some point I'm gonna like throw up a down and be like, hey, anybody got some catchphrase ideas? Because I gotta find something a little bit more fun to end the show with. But yeah, any other ideas for like catchphrases for the show?
No,
nothing.
It was communication, not productivity. Communication doesn't start with you, but using there somewhere. That was the original joke.
I like it. Okay, great. Well, let's go back.
How about keep it pithy? Wasn't that Joe's?
Keep it pithy.
Keep it pithy.
Damn it.
Never follow our own advice. That's a great one. I like it. Yeah, I don't know. I think it could be cool. So I think the moral of the story is we don't have an answer yet. So if you got an idea, throw it in the chat. Let me know if you think if you think we have a good catchphrase, or throw it, go to the layer, throw it in the layer.
We should vote on this one. I think this should be a
World Blockchain Roundtable. If you don't like it, vote to change it.
That's pretty good.
It's not bad.
We'll do anything you vote on.
Great. All right. Well, let's go back to the chat. Let's go back to the comments on the forum and on the layer, and let's see if we have any other questions there.
Cool.
Let's take a look. Do you want to scroll down a little bit, Amanda, for me? Great. Nope. All right. Well, apparently we're supposed to talk about current events now. If we want to. The DAO voted on that. If there are no questions at showtime, I propose that the host talks about current events. We all know we got to leave current events for after the show. So we'll get to that in a second. But that's been World Blockchain Roundtable here. Thank you so much for joining us. We've been talking insurance for everything, for homeowners, for cars, for healthcare. We're going to talk about healthcare next month. Get excited. I'm psyched for it. It's going to be a great episode. Lisa, anything you'd like to plug or let people know about?
Yes, we are having a meetup in Peoria, Illinois on June 23rd at Peoria Pizza Works. It is free, open to the public. We'll be talking about cryptos, freedom, have a bunch of the community and a bunch of people that join us in the live chat on the show every day, meeting us there. Bix Weir may be joining us. We're not sure completely yet. He's had some family issues happen, but it'll be a great time. So my buddy Clint Westwood and I will be doing the live stream happy hour show there, and hope to see everybody there.
Great. Oren, anything you'd like to plug or let us know about?
Hello, everybody. My name's Oren. I haven't been on the show in a while, and that's because I've been working on my own startup called Question. We've done a couple of hackathons, accelerators, got second place in a couple. We're currently doing an NFT release on Near Protocol on our website, qstn.us. We're putting out these NFTs to help build community and social identity, and we're going to put out the first MVP of the product on mainnet in June. So early holders of the NFTs will get early access to the survey marketplace, and we're building a marketplace where people can get paid for their data. So Google Form or SurveyMonkey, you complete the survey and you can earn cash, crypto, NFTs, and our virtual credit, and trying to create a gamified data environment. Thank you for having us.
That sounds amazing. We should have had you on last week when we literally talked about that.
I'll be here more often.
You're good. I feel like this is our fault. We should have reached out to you more. Sean, anything you'd like to plug or say?
No.
No?
Not really. It's nice hanging out with everybody. I appreciate all of y'all. It's good to see you, Oren.
You too, Sean. I appreciate you.
I was following you when you were over in Europe.
Thank you. I'm a big fan of everything you do, honestly.
No, you're not. But I am a fan of you.
We're Instagram friends. It's official,
dude. I have you. I've been very proud of you that everything you've done. You've really you've done a lot.
Thank you, Sean.
Check it out, his music too. It's on Spotify. It's very, she's good.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Okay, never mind. Great.
Hey, John.
I was
talking.
What'd you say?
So start talking. You're making it weird.
Oh no, I was waiting to play a video, because I can't control it on my end, so it's fine. Greg, anything you'd like to plug or say?
Yeah, always, right? I think, given that I've got a moment, I would say, one, if you are planning on building anything on Polygon, if anybody is out there, Rivet is now on Polygon, and the endpoint is very, very stable. It is now stable enough for us to put under our same 99.95% uptime guarantee, which is pretty amazing. We actually refund people if it ever drops below that. And for what it's worth, we can't promise more than that because Amazon can't promise more than that. But we can, in fact, say that we've had better uptime than that forever. Basically, it was the last time we went over or went outside of our SLA was like 2020 for like an hour. So. And now we're ready to back up Polygon on that. So anybody who needs an endpoint to Polygon to build over there, you can do it, and Rivet can help. So definitely look around the world, see ideas that you don't see being done, that you wish were being done, you believe should be done, and do them. And we'll hook you up with an easy way to make that connection to the blockchain. Outside of that, I would say we're kind of in a critical phase right now with Assange, and people should really pay more attention to that. He's still not been extradited, but the more political pressure we can put on the folks who could stop that right now, which is the High Court of the United Kingdom, right? They could intervene and they could stop it, and they will have one more opportunity to do so before they send him over here. They need to be doing that, and we should all be pointing our eyes, our ears, our words, and our voices at it, because if we don't, then we will be setting a precedent where basically anybody who says anything in the world that the United States doesn't want you to say, based on information that they kept secret and failed to keep secret, you can be pulled over here and prosecuted as a spy, even if you're not from here, or you weren't born here, or you're just trying to tell the world something that's really important to hear. You can go to prison for the rest of your life, and you want to be able to defend yourself on the grounds that it was important for people to know, right? So that's what's about to happen to that man. And if we don't do something to stop it, it's gonna happen, and then it'll happen more. So.
Now I know what happened. You were ready with your Sean's Moral Minute, and I didn't give you.
Yeah, that's what I was waiting for. It.
Yeah,
I had the video ready to go.
If you want to say Greg harping on free Assange as a video, we need one of those.
You know what? I like it. I'll work on that. I'm gonna take a note, Greg. Talking about Assange. Got it. You'll have a video at some point of that. Great. I'm pretty excited for current events. So stick around for that. We're gonna talk Pizza Hut. We're gonna talk Prince Harry. We're gonna talk about Assange
and Twitter Spaces.
Wait, I was gonna say the Twitter Spaces thing is kind of cool.
History happened yesterday in a weird way, and I don't think people are talking about it the way they need to be.
I want to talk about how people are talking about it, because
I want to talk about what people aren't saying. So you and I are on the same page.
Yeah.
I love how we recently moved away from Twitter Spaces. So you're like, people are talking about Twitter Spaces. I'm like, what are you talking about? They shouldn't be talking about it. Stay here for the show. Don't leave.
Yeah, don't leave. It failed.
TLDR is there's Nixon v. Kennedy was the last time we had something like this happen. The primary source shifted.
But with me, it's just the polar opposites of how they're talking about it. One is like, oh, this is the worst piece of crap that's ever happened, and then the other people are like, oh, it's so inventive and cool. And it was, if you watch like CNN or MSNBC, it was a clown show. It was the worst thing ever. Everyone's stupid. Twitter Spaces is stupid. And DeSantis is stupid. Nothing worked.
So they turned into what Twitter used to be.
People were dying trying to listen to it. Their heads were exploding and they're dead. And then if you watch like Fox or other like independent stuff, there's like excerpts from it, and it was like interesting and cool what they were doing, and like the connection. It was literally because I watched one side first, and they were showing it like when the voices go out. I've done a bunch of Twitter Spaces, and just the usual technical problems, and they were like making the AOL sound. And like they were.
I wish it had the AOL sound when I kicked you out. That would be.
They were dogging on it so hard. I was like, man, that must have sucked. And then I kept looking, and then there was like parts where it was like really, really going well, and everyone was interacting with each other, and I was like, this isn't terrible. This is cool. So it's perspective. I wasn't live with it, which I wish I was now. Because it's hard to make your own opinion when everyone else's opinion is so radically different.
I happened to tune in live to it. Well, the first one I got on before the Muskopolis happened. Muskopolis, is that a thing? Yeah. Okay. And it was like immediately crashy, and it was probably because a ton of notifications went out to every one of his followers every time he joined space. So. And that would definitely crash about any computer system on Earth when you consider the multiplication there. But nonetheless, once they switched over to David Sachs, is it David Sachs? Yeah, hosting it.
Yeah, that's what they said. Like
it was a lot better. It was really good.
The average layman is just haha, this thing doesn't work. Haha.
It's still glitchy, but so was the first radio broadcast.
You know what? The future looks bright. All right, we're gonna talk about it.
I gotta wear shades. What's that from? Who's saying that?
The future's bright. I gotta wear shades.
Yeah.
Are we gonna say that's like Johnny Cash or something? I don't know.
No, I think it was Timbuk 4.
Oh wow, yeah, that was Timbuk 4. Weird.
Yeah. There you go. Great, Amanda. You want to play the moon video for me really quick? I don't know. If you can...
We got to edit that last U to the letter U in quotes.
I just copied. I made that during the show.
But the letter U.
It looks like a headshot for an actor that does like intense violent dramas or something.
Yep.
I was going to say daytime drama.
It's one of the
days of our lives.
It's one of the two pictures I have of Greg. If you Google Greg, that's one of the two pictures that pops up.
I know. Whenever I have him on my channel, there's like hardly any pictures for me to put in the.
I'm a ghost man.
It's okay.
On purpose to the internet.
I've now got stable. I've got Dave's stable diffusion up and running. So now I can take that image, put it into stable diffusion, and then do like an AI image to image creation. So I can make an AI version of Greg based off of this picture.
Yes, I have a cartoon one that that's a nice way to say cartoon. I have a cartoon one of Greg that I use too. I got like 20 pictures of Dave and his dog. Every picture is Dave and his dog.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do a bunch of face swaps and put myself on like a random number of people.
I love it.
So you guys can use that instead. Because I feel like, you could have like me walking a dog in a halter top, or like I could be a pilot on an airplane. It'd be like Catch Me If You Can, but just like with the AI. So it'd be fantastic.
Great. So yeah, Greg just gave you a lot of permission to go make weird AI pictures of him.
Please do.
There you go.
The more obscene and twisted and reality bending and uncanny valley inducing, the better. Please.
And put him
turn me into a meme if you can.
Put it into the layer. There's your catchphrase. Put the comment in the layer. I don't know. We'll figure it out. If you've got catchphrase ideas, you can type it somewhere and I'll find it.
Put it in the layer.
Put it in the layer. There it is.
In the layer.
I suppose it's better than the
keep it pithy.
Cool. But keep it pithy. We're gonna just have 5 catchphrase, and it's really just like a 10 commandments rules of it. There it is. Great. So for next week, we are going to be talking about Den.Social from concept to present day and beyond. We have to confirm the host availability, which I'm assuming is probably Joe, but I should be here. We'll see. leave some questions in there and let us know what you want us to talk about, because if not, we'll do what we did today. Share this episode. The more you share, the more our hosts and topic contributors will get. Like, comment, subscribe, share, tell everybody about the show, because more people need to hear what we're talking about. And I'm sure you agree. Have a good rest of your day. We're going to step out, play a video, and then we'll be right back with current events. We're talking Pizza Hut, Prince Harry, Assange. We're talking about catchphrases.
Satellite phones.
We're talking about weird pictures of Greg, maybe. Who knows?
Let's hope not.
You're not going to want to miss it. Stick around, and we'll be right back. Bye, everybody.
While nuclear weapons states can exert unlimited violence over even millions of individuals, strong cryptography means that a state, even by exercising unlimited violence, cannot violate the intent of individuals to keep secrets from them. Cryptography is the ultimate form of non-violent direct action.
Fun show. Oren, it was
That was a good one,
having you
man.
on. Yeah, it's awesome having you on, man.
You too. I'll be back next week. Thank you, everybody. Nice to meet you,
Yes.
Lisa. You too, John.
All right.
Yeah, nice
Yeah,
to
nice to
meet you.
Yeah.
See you
And
soon.
good to
Have a
hear
good one.
about your project.
Thank you so much.
For sure. Yeah.
I'll follow
out-
everybody off of our account and make sure we're all socially connected.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
I'm checking out the
Yeah.
SoundCloud.
Thank you.
Checking out the SoundClouds. Don't worry.
Let me know what you think. All right, we'll talk soon, everybody. Thank you.
See you.
Have a good
Actually, if you I was
He's
gonna
out.
see. I was gonna see if he minded if I DRM free swiped some of his music for some ribbit ads, but
Just
I'll ask forgiveness later.
I do that to all my friends' bands. I'm like, nope, your music's going to be in my video now. Every time there's a ska song that plays in any of our videos, it's from a friend's band.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't ask them, but
Oh yeah,
band's-
they would. You know, they would say yes, right? Like,
yeah. I know one of them would say yes, but I know a few of the people in the band are kind of like sticklers for things. So it's more of I'm going to ask the one that I like. And
right. You got to
yeah.
ask the right parent for permission to do the one
Yeah.
thing that you know that they'll say yes to.
Yeah, and usually when we're having a drink or something, gotta like prime it so I'm in the right spot.
Hey, I did this, by the way. You want to check out this video that I made? Do you mind if I publish this? Right, like, can you show it to them?
Yeah,
Make sure it's got at the very end a clip that's like special thanks to band, right? And then you clip that part out when you do the ad. I don't know why they cut it off.
See, the video was 33 seconds and it has to be 30 seconds.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that. I'm so sorry. Anything I can do to make it up to you.
it didn't show that on the preview.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Cool. I'm glad that I've had that catchphrase game show for so long, just like for like I think like 3 months, just sitting in the background for like just in case I needed a game show or something. So I'm glad it was kind of funny. At
It's
least
a fun one.
it was so dumb. But I was like going, I think I had it from the game show episode that we did forever ago. And I was like, we need a catchphrase. I don't have a catchphrase. I don't know what to do. It'll be fine. I can't just keep saying bye. And then that's usually what I do. What happened with Twitter Spaces? I'm very
So
curious.
DeSantis did his official announcement on a Twitter space. Official announcement on an internet medium happened for the first time. That's the amazing part to me. Right? What we're looking at right now is, first it was radio, and it took from the first commercial radio station broadcasting the results of the 1920 presidential election, right, all the way up until 1948, before they actually aired a primary debate. It was the first official political event that I can find any history of being placed on the radio. Political event, not national event. They were the fireside chats and all the presidential stuff, right, of FDR, but the first time it was just like colloquially used for partisan politics was 1948. And then we saw the same thing with TV happen sort of in 1960, where it became the new medium that took over radio for that, starting with that Kennedy and Nixon debate. It shifted the way people thought about media, right? Like, and here we are again now today, and TV has been taken over as the primary source. what we saw yesterday was Twitter being the original primary source for the news happening, and then the news media commenting on it on the old media. They flipped the script.
Did something happen with Twitter Spaces, or is it just like,
they were clunky, right?
Because somebody used it for a thing?
The first one, the first one, some people are going to say it was awful. Some people think it was great. I listened to it. I thought it was great personally because it was long form conversation instead of soundbitey, and I think that makes politics a little bit less poisonous.
Yeah, that's it. You put it. I was trying to think of what was so different. There was like an interaction. It did feel more like you're a part of it. You did join it. It's like you watch it on TV before, and there's a room full of, there's like 100, microphones in front of the guy, and there's all these press corps, and there's all these people, and for that announcement, you were in the room. Mm-hmm. You were literally in the room, hearing it as it happened, not just live, but it was so different. It was that Greg said exactly what it was.
What do you think? Like the information,
it's like the people's press room, kind of is what it felt like. It was the vibe.
Did it make a difference with the way? I guess, like you said, that he was able to be more long form with his answers because this isn't like a timed media event, is what it sounded like, right?
Right. Yeah. He had the amount of time he could stick around, and in the world of TV, you're always working around advertisers, right? You're working around when this ends. We have to do this in this window, or we have to do special coverage or whatever, right? It's a live event or a live feed is a rare thing to see anywhere but cable news, where they do nothing but live feeds interposed with commentary, right? And anymore, they don't even really do live feeds because they don't like to let you have access to the primary source the same way they used to. This is like open-ended primary source.
You have more control over your side too, because you're producing your show as opposed to being like, hey, I want to make an announcement. Great, we'll produce your announcement and say this is how it should go. You should have short answers from a lot of different media sources and whatever it is. And most of your answers are going to be nothing profound.
No, I understand that it was probably scripted. Like who they brought up and what they asked was scripted, but that's great. It was scripted in a way that added, not subtracted, right? It wasn't like they weren't exploiting the sound bitiness of it in order to get away with saying less. Which was
fantastic. I think that's great. Because then you get to be in control of your message as opposed to, so that way it works both ways. If you say something smart, you have control of it. You say something dumb, it's all your fault. We can't be like, this media source made me say it or did whatever. Right. Even though that'll probably end up happening if somebody does that and then says something stupid, because it's easier to blame. I am for Am threw it out a question in the chat. Do you think Elon made a political donation to a PAC to get DeSantis to announce on Twitter? I don't think he did. I think
Elon DeSantis Twitter.
I don't know. I think DeSantis probably was like, I want to be involved and reach a certain demographic and certain people and seem like I'm part of something.
Well, he also, if you think about it, Trump won't go on Twitter. So if DeSantis has that, if he can reach that huge market, and he knows that his competition's not on there. So that was a smart move for him to reach out there. It just was unfortunate that it had so much technical.
Oh, in the content wise, it was probably a smart move because it was platform competitive, positioning yourself up against the other guy, right? Because he's not, the next one we're going to see, you can mark my words, the next one we're going to see is Kennedy. Right, we'll have a Democrat candidate up there before long, and it's probably going to be Kennedy, because I can't see Biden surviving anything that long form without taking too much Adderall. So
I feel like his heart would explode if he took Adderall.
I think they've been feeding him that. Honestly, he looks like he's on uppers when he's talking coherently.
Yeah, he does. He looks a little too peppy. He's too extreme, just his mannerisms. How long do you think until
dementia?
So the legacy systems kind of admit that they're passé.
Well, they're commenting on it now. They've flipped the script, right? We went from radio as the primary source to radio as talk radio, right? Very quickly after TV became a thing, right? You talked about what was on TV on the radio. And TV is now talking about what's on the internet on the radio as of today.
Interesting.
But how long until they? Because they are like, especially the media. They are like the most elitist,
hate it,
sniffing their own farts kind of group. So how long until they are like, well, this is kind of the thing,
I don't think
some of them are already.
Right? I don't think they'll ever like fully do that though. I think whatever it is, they'll have their own segment. They're going to have their own way to do stuff. Like, because as soon as you do that, you're kind of like, you're kind of saying to the people that have given you money and your investors, like, hey, we're not going to make it. And you can never, even if you believe that to be true, you can never say that out loud.
Well, I mean, you look at like
ultimately just shift formats,
see,
right?
and we
CNN will be its Twitter channel
because we call it,
channel.
The alternative media. But when the alternative media, why is it alternative? It's alternative because it's not the norm. But if the alternative media gets 1 million views, and then
alternative because the FCC won't let it on cable,
it's 100,000 or 50,000, then is the alternative really the alternative, or is it the norm?
Well, I mean, they get way more. They're not really alternative anymore. You're right, but like they still call it Ethereum and altcoin, even though it does far more volume than any other token, right? Like, there's sort of a brand. Speaking of brands, did you hear DeSantis's very clever approach to dealing with the giant elephant in the room that is his opposition? He did not say anything about. Like, you never heard the word Trump in the whole conversation, did you? Not once.
Yeah.
He didn't say his name.
He also didn't mention Ukraine. He didn't mention a lot of things.
But what he did say is that all of the promises that he's making are not brand building exercises. And he said that with a sneer. Did you guys notice that? Because
I didn't listen to it.
I think that's actually if there is an effective collateral attack on Donald Trump, it's that he's all flash and no pan, right? Like it's all bacon, or there's no bacon in there, right? Whereas the beef is a very good political attack. He's rerunning Reagan, basically.
Except that if you want to talk about where's the beef, earlier in the day, there was an announcement that his biggest backer is a former Obama backer.
Oh, I'm not saying
DeSantis'
one way or the other which one
backer.
I'm a fan of, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm not saying whether I believe what he says. Like, I'm setting that aside. I'm just commenting on the fact that his line of attack is hard to refute. Well, it's not hard to refute. It's not hard to refute. It's hard to address from a strategic standpoint.
It is hard to address because there's no meat there.
It'll be difficult for Donald Trump to have the conversation without talking about policy with him, I guess.
I think there's a brilliant plan, that's actually a plan. It would be for him to run shortly, gain some support, and then go on as VP. Trump DeSantis run.
The amount they've attacked, that's what I thought was going to happen. I'm from Florida, so like I've followed
the things that Camilla and Joe said to each other. It's pretty bad. When they were in the primary, it was very bad.
I don't know if it's as bad as like DeSantis and Trump.
I mean, the True.Social post that Trump did yesterday, where he did Elon, the FBI, DeSantis, and Satan all in the spaces.
Yeah, I think that's probably a little different than normally the vibe you would have with a VP. So I don't think that'll happen. That's what I thought at first, was that he's just running to be a VP, because DeSantis really doesn't have much of a personality from what I know of him, and from what like people I know of him. It's like he doesn't really have a personality for it.
I wish Dave was here, because Dave's governor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
he
was right. He was really strong on COVID, which I think is a really strong point for him. I think that's also true. Yeah, he was really. He
led the country. Yeah.
And he probably, as in, he stopped it from turning into a permanent. He stopped the
media said that
the biosecurity state from becoming an established thing, right? Like if it were not for Florida not locking down, we wouldn't have had any comparator to say that like masks don't work.
Well, Texas, we never been worse.
Oklahoma didn't.
like the school closure stuff, like all of the things that Florida didn't do provided a comparison to the rest of the country. So we can now evaluate whether or not any of those things worked. We wouldn't have had that without them.
That's just what the
They were a
media
control
showed
group.
you, though. They weren't.
Texas,
There
Oklahoma.
were other.
We didn't.
Yeah,
do
there
that
were
either,
other
but
states doing it. It's
Florida
just
was
the
loud
media.
about it.
Right, but that's
The
the
media
loudness
was
about
loud
it. The
about
loudness
it.
about it is what makes it effective. He did it in a way that was in your face.
It's not him. It was the media. You got to be careful with who you're
Right, well,
listening to.
the media is not. I'm not listening to anybody. The media wasn't. Actually, I don't watch the news or listen to what they say.
I agree. I believe that. But you're saying that he's effective because the media.
No, he's
featured
effective.
him.
However his PR channels are working is effective at getting his message out there.
Interesting.
I'm not saying that I support him. I'm just saying that he's a tough challenger, is all I'm saying. And you got to acknowledge that regardless of who you support.
I think he's a tough challenger because he's as extreme as like Trump can be with a lot of things. So I think that's going to be like the challenge, like definitely the challenging part, because it's going to be two people with very strong and big ideas.
Right, like
for how they want the world to look, whether you like it or not.
All of a sudden, the Martha's Vineyard stunt looks like, as governor, I did more on immigration than you did as president.
Yeah, but the Martha Vineyard stunt like backfired on him.
Yeah,
pretty hard.
I think you guys backfired on him pretty hard with who? Like who liked that stunt and who didn't?
I'm trying to remember. Because there was something that happened afterwards where they like then took, I think they then took them and like processed.
Oh, they bust them out of there as fast as possible to a military prison nearby, right? Like,
yeah, but we've been sending them up there into New York and everything for a long time.
Right, but it was publicized in such a way that cameras were on it the whole time. So there's like this documentary history of it. Now he's got this case to make where he can attack Trump from the right. It's a pretty clever move.
I just think he's like Trump.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it's a good.
The people that are afraid of Trump's, what do they call it? When men are too manly or whatever, toxic masculinity or whatever. They'll like, oh well, we'll take DeSantis because we can control him a little bit more, but we can still have like the conservative stuff. So we'll take like Trump light.
To me,
I think that's where he has a benefit.
And for what it's worth, guys, the dog in this fight that I have is completely liberty oriented. I want the person who is going to take away, not add, restrictions and government heft. Like whoever is going to reduce and limit the power of government, that's who I'm supporting, right? Like for me, like Trump or DeSantis are about the same basket of trade-offs. From where I come from politically, and Kennedy would be an acceptable alternative in my mind too.
So pizza, what's going on with them? What's going on with our Pizza Hut? Next current thing. As soon as I said
we just had Bitcoin Pizza Day. Yeah.
What's a Bitcoin Pizza Day?
So Bitcoin Pizza Day. No, it's a real thing. We just had Bitcoin Pizza Day. What day was that? Was that Monday or
the world's most expensive pizza?
I think it was Monday or Tuesday.
Monday or Tuesday, I can't remember, was the day, it's the anniversary of the day that the first Bitcoin transaction to buy something tangible happened. So back in like, I don't know what year, 2010 or something.
It was the first thing, but it was a guy bought a pizza, bought two pizzas with like 1,000 Bitcoin or something.
No, it was more than that. It was like 10,000 Bitcoin. 10,000 Bitcoin.
I remember that story
Bitcoin.
now.
Yeah. He sent the Bitcoin to one guy who then used his credit card in London to send some pizzas to somebody in another country or something. And so that's the anniversary of that. Everybody has pizza that day and talks about Bitcoin Pizza Day.
The most expensive pizza ever. All right. So quickly moving up. Great. We got Pizza Hut figured out. Next topic. What's going on with Prince Henry? Or did we cover that kind of? Or was it Prince Henry? I don't know.
That he said he was
deported, man.
A co-core or something, and
no, he wrote in his book. He said that he's done every drug that there is, and he's like he smoked a bunch of pot, done cocaine, LSD, all that. And then the government is like, "Hey, on your visa application, you said you never did drugs." So they're like, and I think they're going to do something Number one, because they're going after him.
It's uneven-handed.
But also because they're like, this is a great way for us to say that rules for me and not for thee doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's an opportunity to make a show of it. You're right, Sean. It's a psyop opportunity. It's an opportunistic psyop.
It's like the perfect time. The timing is perfect. He's the perfect scapegoat.
See how we treat everybody fairly?
Yeah.
But the problem is problem is they're probably going to start trying to treat everybody fairly, because what they really want to do is scan everything you've ever said on the internet to check for lies on your government apps, right? Like, you lied on a visa application 20 years ago because of something you said on social media yesterday. You're officially kicked out of the country. Like, that's not something we want to live in, man.
They don't seem to care too much about that. I mean, people lied on their PPP forms, and they're not being held accountable for that.
I don't think it's so much that they don't care. It's just so much that they can't detect it. If they could build a system that could catch every lie and then punish for it really aggressively right away, like, if we could catch every lie, we should stop it from happening before we have a need to implement retribution or whatever, right? But what they'll do is they'll let it happen and they'll retroactively punish. And I don't necessarily
like
think
the
it's a
SEC.
good precedent. Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's a good precedent to set. So as much as I don't think it could have happened to a nicer guy, I think it's dangerous to go down the road of something you said today or last year undermines something that you told us 20 years ago on a forum, and now we're going to sanction you for that.
I don't understand, as from a legal standpoint, if we did look at this correct. If you commit a crime, there's a statute of limitations. But if you break a policy, there's not really a statute of limitations then, but they can charge you with a crime from that. It just seems kind of
right, because when a crime is discovered is when the statute of limitations starts to toll. The crime could be reasonably discovered as of the publishing of that book. Therefore, the statute of limitations starts from day zero on the day that the book was published.
What do you mean it starts from that? What are you talking about?
So, like, if the first time he ever admitted to that was in the book, right, then they could have found out that he lied on the form as of the day that they could have bought a copy. Right, so that's the day the statute of limitations will toll to.
I thought only like murder and rape and certain things.
Tolling rules work by jurisdiction, so it depends on where you are, right? There'll be local rules, basically. So it'll depend on the local court.
I thought it worked differently for crimes.
It may work differently for capital crimes, but other than that.
Interesting. So I guess one thing I quickly was reading about it. Apparently, like visa application stuff is like incredibly like confidential, so we probably won't hear much more about it. But then also it says that he was taking it for like anxiety and like mental health kind of stuff. He was doing a lot of drugs too, which like makes sense because that's usually why people do drugs, is because they have other issues going on. And I think very rarely people are like perfectly happy and stuff in their life, and you're like, you know what I need? This. So I'm curious if that'll be like a factor in it. Be like, at the time he wasn't whatever, and then in a mentally great place, and then reevaluate the visa and do a new interview process.
Like, let's just hope that it doesn't turn into a thing, because what we shouldn't see, or what I really hope we don't see, is like more FBI crap like we've seen lately, where it's like whoever's in political power is just going to weaponize the government against everybody using every tool at their disposal.
Yeah. Right? And also, like, I hope it's not. To me, that's not news. I don't give a shit.
I feel like if you trick a bureaucrat, there ought to be a détente rule. Like, if you lie on a form and get away with it, it should just be in the past.
Yeah, it'd be like it's
like ha should be the answer, right? Not like they should blame the bureaucrats for not catching it, not blame the people for trying to do it.
Yeah. How did we not interview his friends well enough to know that they're like to do know?
Yeah. How did you fuck up as an agency?
Yeah,
is the question we should be asking.
Yeah, and also, what publicist was like, this is a good thing to put in the book, dude? Whatever.
Well, you should be able to publish it. It's interesting stories, right? Like, I'd rather hear about a crack addicted guy rather than a whitewash thing. It's more fun.
On the other hand, he's like, now he gets that publicity, knowing that, hey, this probably won't happen.
Yeah, he'll be able to afford a place wherever he gets deported to pretty easily if the book sells more. It's a good point.
I don't think Prince Henry is ever going to have to worry about money. I think he's doing okay. Great. Anything else that we wanted to talk? What was the other thing we wanted to talk about? I think it's hilarious how many topics we had before we came to
There's
current
a
events.
lot. Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's this satellite phones. 50 senators or representatives
That was
were given
weird.
satellite phones, and not. And this is the other thing that I think is strange, because I try to look for like cross-reference points of, when you hear something strange like that, especially like, oh, is that just some rumor or whatever? But you're hearing it on multiple platforms, like CBS, mainstream media is talking about it. Also, I posted one of the Twitter stories in there. I posted in there like a that guy that took over. Oh, what's his name? Some preacher guy. Reverend Franklin Graham issues warning to America. The storm is headed this way. And he talks about, he's telling like about outages and that they're going to take our data, canceling, they've canceled Christians in the past, closed bank accounts last October. Amazon has participated in discrimination. They basically own the data cloud of everybody.
Right.
And then he talked about, basically he said you're not going to be able to communicate in traditional ways with phones and whatever. He's warning people.
Right.
So
well, because they're going to weaponize bank safety and soundness. There's some truth to this, because safety and soundness rules have been reinterpreted recently to include reputational risk posed by customers you serve. Right. Similar to how Visa Network tried to shut down Pornhub right up because they didn't want to be associated with porn. Right. Like especially amateur porn that wasn't properly age vetted. Right. That was what they wanted. There was no way to prove that these people were over the age of 18, and therefore people could accuse Visa of facilitating child pornography, right? That's the basis upon which these banks are operating, right? They're looking at reputation risk, and they're saying people that work here, that bank here, are a risk to my reputation if we don't check when we can. And they can check a lot of shit now.
So this Friday,
social credit score.
Jamie Dimon is testifying about Chase's role in knowing about what the transactions were for with all the Epstein stuff. And so that could shut down a lot of banking if he discloses that, yes, they knew because everybody knows, yes, they knew what the transactions were for.
Well, it's a dangerous can of worms when you use a risk calculation to figure out how to respond to that, right? Because then you can just be like, give me a list of all IP addresses that have ever hit this this endpoint and returned anything from this server, because we know that sometimes on Pornhub people uploaded stuff that wasn't appropriate age-wise, and we know that these people visited that server at some point. We don't know that they saw it. We don't know what they were doing there. We don't even know it was them using it. Could have been somebody else, but the risk is there. So we have a reputation risk because this person hit this IP address. We're going to block this bank customer. Right.
Well, and I had heard one of the
people who bought coffee in DC on the day that that they were at the that they did the January 6th thing. Like, could just be like somebody who was a tourist getting their information swiped and getting FBI investigated because they bought a coffee nearby.
This Epstein thing is even more specific because they have the young girls that were minors, their names, their account information. They know their age, they know their names, that money was being moved into their accounts. Girls in Ukraine, girls, some of the Hunter stuff. They know they were minors and having money moving into their accounts. Yeah.
I'm personally surprised they were actually paying them.
So I think that's interesting when you brought up the satellite phones, because I have a theory about it, and I think it's kind of similar to what I Am for Am says when he's talking in the chat. He goes, maybe the real lie was in the book for Prince Henry to sell copies and not on the government doc. That's an interesting idea.
Right.
Yeah, saying I've done every drug under the sun. That's a lot of drugs.
That's a lot of drugs.
Yeah. And I think for me too, right? Like I think certain things happen in the media cycle for reasons, because if we can control the media cycle, that helps, right? So if we want people talking about how senators got a satellite phone, which to me is not news, because we update security protocols all the time, and
I
usually
got
they
a satellite phone last year.
Yeah.
Emergency mode on the newest iPhone has satellite capacity.
So things like that, like senators having a satellite phone, to me just sounds like somebody wanted something fancy, and then we had to offer it to everybody.
To me, it's just the technology is just ready for that. Like satellite phones are now just a thing that senators get by default.
Exactly. To me, I'm a little surprised that they didn't have
Though
them
it is kind of scary sounding when you think about it a certain way. It could be like, what are they about to do? That's another possibility.
It sounds like that, but also like I think it was at the request. I read an article about it. And it was like it was at the request of one of the senators wanted a satellite phone, and I think it's like, well, if we do that, we have to offer it to everybody. Okay, only 50 off, and only 50 opted in Congress. So, okay, yeah, it could be something, but it also could be like not a something. Kind of like just how we have to update things every once in a while. Lisa, were you waving or did you have a question?
I was reading IAM's comment.
I think so.
And agreeing with IAM. I have all of Whitney Webb's books.
I think that idea and topic comes up just almost like probably like at least every other blockchain episode. Probably about 3 out of every 4. We at least.
John, have you read any Whitney Webb?
Is that the person who created the internet?
No. You're thinking of Tim Berners-Lee.
That was Charlotte's Web. No.
Oh, Charlotte's Web created it. Is it
Whitney
2 B's?
Webb.
Yeah, Whitney Webb is 2 B's. One Nation under blackmail would be my guess. Yeah.
It's like it's sort of like an open secrets history. All stuff that's true and public record, but that nobody ever talks about because it's inconvenient to be talked about.
You know what? I got some Amazon Audible credits. Let's go. Hopefully they have a good narrator.
Dude, you will like the book, and it will wreck your head a little bit.
Man,
There's 2 of them.
I don't like sad stuff, man.
It's not sad. It's like it's fascinating.
To me, that's
so much subterfuge.
Well, like
so fascinating.
In my head, probably a couple of things are like, oh, the FBI or CIA doing like LSD testing and like that kind of training and doing all the stuff they used to do that was awful.
And like more boring than that, actually. Boring little things add up to kind of like a bad picture.
But Anson Mount stars in that movie, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I just don't like that's sad to me, and like doesn't make me feel good. It makes me angry, and then I go, what can you do about it? And then you go, I can do nothing about it. So I'm gonna go make up things on stage, which is why I do improv, because the rest of the world is depressing. So hence why I moved to New York. Also,
this is my
hope. That's why you get into blockchain and you build something so that you can be decentralized, and they can keep making rules for typewriters, and you can opt out.
Well,
that's what you do.
I know where my skill set is, and my skill set is honest. It's making up funny things and telling stories.
You're helping us propagandize the world, my friend. Thank you.
I'll do that if I can get paid doing it. That will go. I will facilitate propaganda if there's money in it for me. If there's anything you'd like me to say on this show, send me some whatever, and I'll probably say it.
Cool.
That's my new way I want to start making money is for improv shows.
That's the slogan, man. The slogan is we take bribes.
We take bribes. World Blockchain Roundtable. We take bribes.
Remember, if there's anything you want to hear on the show, just pay us.
Yeah, I like I like that, and then I love that earlier Sean was like, it should be like an art like Camelot Arthurian. I don't know if I ever heard that word, but I love it. Kind of thing. I'm like, yeah. And that's all about like honor and doing the right thing. And it's like, okay, what's honor and doing the right thing? We'll take bribes.
We take bribes.
And we're upfront about it.
My allegiance is to no human I am, but myself.
Yeah. I had the dumbest idea, but I thought it was hilarious the other day. I was walking through New York and it was super overcast. So like basically you felt like you were in a cloud city, because the clouds were like covering the skyscrapers and stuff. It was super cool, but like it felt like you were just in a giant cloud. And I'm like, to me, that's the proof that this is a simulation, is weather. When weather is like so cloudy and overcast and dark that you can't see other things, it's because the system is running hot Okay. And we don't
They
have
had to
enough.
reduce the draw distance.
Yeah, we didn't have enough RAM. So you know what? Every time somebody's like, that weather came out of nowhere, that's what it was. Okay. That's what it was.
The draw distance had to change, man.
We couldn't keep running the environment, so we kind of slowed that down and we just made it overcast. Came out of nowhere. I don't know. That's my proof. Weather doesn't.
Well, except for there would be so much compute around creating the system that makes that appear like a chaotic, self-organizing one, even though it's completely organized.
There's the architect.
It would be self-defeating, right? You would end up with because we look at the weather patterns and we're like, we can't predict them.
Exactly.
Right? If we could predict them on that basis, then we would know it was a constructed system.
Well, like some of them are some of them predicted and some of them aren't.
What lags the system is the question.
I don't know. This was just I was stoned walking through this.
Oh no, I'm rabbit holing.
Yeah. What else is going on in the world? Anything exciting happening?
UC Berkeley got caught taking millions from China. It's known as like China's MIT. That was pretty exciting.
What are they for what?
Let me see.
Under what pretext? I suppose I should.
Let me see. China in focus. A new report is alleging the University of California, Berkeley failed to disclose millions in undisclosed Chinese funds. Those funds are tied to renowned university in Beijing known as China's.
So it was a
MIT.
failure to. So it's a bureaucratic crime.
Yes.
Yeah. Gotcha. So somebody in the bureaucracy at that university did not fill
They're
out
not sure if it's
form as they were supposed to.
Tens of millions or hundreds of millions. They're not sure.
Did they was it that they didn't disclose it at all, or is it that they didn't disclose it properly?
I don't know. It says it's a semi. Hold on. Whoa.
It's like trying to launder it is way different to me than like not crossing the right T.
We filled out the form. Did we fill out the form wrong, or did we never fill out a form?
Or did we never fill out a form, or did we try actively to avoid having to fill it out to hide the money? Is the question.
I don't know.
And if the answer is hide the money, then yeah, obviously that's sketch as fuck. But if it's like we just didn't fill out the form, then like I can forgive that. I like to passive aggressively not fill out forms.
Semiconductor research.
Sometimes
they don't. I don't know. I don't have that information.
Interesting.
So I'd love to talk about it right now. I know everybody's thinking about it. It's on all of our minds. What's going on with the Rapid and Blitz chess tournament over in Poland right now? Magnus Carlsen is back to number 1. Started out at one point, he was number 10 in the rankings. Back to number 1 today. Had won 7 games in a row, decisive victories, pretty amazing stuff. And then I think he took a loss, so he didn't beat Anish Giri's previous record. Big deal out there in the world. So if you're not watching the chess tournament happening right now in Poland, it's probably because you got better things to do. But I'm watching it, so.
Dude, no, that's awesome. I didn't even know it was on until you mentioned it. But
yeah, it was really funny. The first day he lost, he played a ridiculous opening that nobody plays. He played the Polish because he was in Poland. He's like,
so it was a pun.
Yeah, and he didn't. And after the review, he was like, "Yeah, I haven't really been playing much chess." After like the first interview, he's like, "Yeah, I haven't really been playing much chess."
I've never considered the prospect of the chess move being a pun until now. That's pretty neat.
Oh yeah, there's a lot, and so like so many openings are played or named after where they're from. So there's like the Sicilian, the London, which has made a big comeback. The modern.
The Queen's Gambit is my favorite, actually, and it was my favorite before the movie.
Oh yeah, I hated that one. It was always so risky to me. I'm like, I don't like playing. I don't like playing Queen's Pawn's opening anyway.
The Queen's Gambit is actually, it makes for a really interesting game, even though you're just as likely to cut your own hand off as you are to win.
I like how you said that because they're very sharp lines.
Yeah,
they're sharp lines is what they would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a big deal because this is a guy who goes, I've won enough. I'm not going to fight for the world championship anymore. Didn't win the world championship. Had a very contentious world championship. Like it went to like extra rounds if you want to think about it that way. And Magnus was like, I don't feel like doing it. It's a lot of work. I've done everything I wanted to. Played a whole bunch of poker. relaxes. Like he's kind of just like I feel like he's like the Elon Musk of chess right now. And then like doesn't practice for a tournament, shows up, and now he's in first place. It's like, come on, dude. This is not fair.
It's like the Andre Agassi of chess, then, isn't it? You remember Andre Agassi in the 90s? He was like tennis's bad boy.
Yeah, or Babe Ruth way back when, just showing up
Babe Ruth, yeah.
LSD and
I
drinking.
thought Babe Ruth was like the archetypal baseball player, really. Like he was the one guy who like refused to follow the narrative of we're going to get in shape, because like he demonstrated quite openly that you can be completely out of shape and still be a professional baseball player.
That's not the norm. And he
Right.
that's not the norm. There's very few players that are like, you know what I need to do? Drink more beer before games.
Maybe there should be more of that.
I think that just makes, I feel like we just need to make baseball more complicated. There's too much standing around. I feel like the outfield should have to switch positions, like in volleyball, how you have to rotate around the bases. I feel like you should have to rotate your position.
I feel like innings should just end on a timer. Solve the problem.
That would be
right now it's Quidditch. It goes until I get the golden snitch, which always bothered me about that game. It's like it doesn't actually end. There's the other positions don't really matter.
Yeah, and it's like it's 400 points. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. No,
Speaking of which, there's now Quidditch in the Harry Potter Legacy game. So if you want to go play Quidditch, yeah, I think they just added. It's either in beta or something.
Professional Quidditch.
Neat. Okay, I'm totally gonna try that.
So whenever I hear the word professional to me means you get paid and can at least make like some kind of living off of it.
Right.
I don't think anybody's making a living playing Quidditch.
Not professional.
So, but there are competitive. There are competitive Quidditch teams.
It's college sports. It's not paid. It's not professional.
It's collegiate.
Collegiate
is usually the adjective that goes along with that.
Yeah, there's colleges that have Quidditch teams. So there you go.
Yeah, but I guess nobody's getting a scholarship for Quidditch though. Is the other part of
they
it.
might,
Yeah,
no, they're not. There's no scholarship. They're getting a scholarship for. They're getting scholarships for like. They're getting academic scholarships. They just happen to play Quidditch.
But like anything, dude, if you draw the dollars, you're gonna give scholarships, man.
I agree.
Lean over so we can see the puppy, or switch arms.
You're muted.
The other one's now really jealous, so he's gonna have to come up.
Oh, okay.
So,
I can't do jealousy of my dog.
This is Thor. He says,
that's so cute.
Wait, his name is Thor?
Yeah, this is Thor.
Thor is adorable.
Yeah. And then here comes Loki. Come here, buddy. If he'll come up here.
When you described your dogs, because I now remember you telling me your dog's names before. I did not think they were these little fluffy things.
These guys are great. This guy's a furricane, man. He's fantastic.
A furricane.
Is that a corgi? Is that what that is?
Nope, this is a Pomeranian.
Pomeranian.
Yeah, Pomeranian.
That's what I wanted to say. And I was like, I'm awful at those.
My cousin used to breed those.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
It's a brave soul.
So cute.
Yeah.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
That was scared of me.
So cute.
Is horrified since the boys. Oh, my kids are in Vietnam for a month, and they just got COVID. Not good. But the dog's not scared of me anymore. But she's so needy, and the dogs together are so jealous of each other. It's just unbelievably draining. She's always there. She Scooby Doo's me, or she just jumps on me, and jumps into my arms, and then she tries to climb on. And she does it to my kids. I always thought it was just funny, but tries to climb and sit on my shoulder. But she's a regular sized dog, so it's not. It's painful, and it's very annoying. And then Willow is, what did you say? A furricane.
I call him a furricane.
She's a furricane, and then now she can't handle it if I'm getting attention to the other dog.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, this guy actually ate one of my AirPods today. So,
oh no.
Well, he didn't get any of the nasty parts, but like he did destroy it before we got.
I thought he like swallowed it whole, and I was like, You know what you could do? You could play music from the AirPod and come out of the phone.
That would have been funnier and probably probably preferable because then we could probably wait a while and get it back. But
if you ever lose your dog, you can just use the Find My AirPods, like Find My Phone AirPods.
There's a tracking chip in there that I can just use Find My on. Yeah.
Can you just put a tile on your dog's neck and you don't have to microchip them, just put a tile, just add a tile to their collar. Yeah. There it is.
I could also probably rig it so that I can use the phone as a microphone.
Oh yeah,
and have it play, so I can call him wherever he is, and he can hear me. He'll think he's schizophrenic.
My stepdaughter she has one of those like Ring. It's like a camera, but she can talk to it, and so she'll watch her dog while she's at work, and she'll talk to her dog, and it freaks the dog out. She was here, and she's like, okay, watch this, and she'll be like watching on the phone, and she's like, Gypsy, Gypsy, and the dog is like looking around, like, where is she? I was like, you're gonna make your dog like a nervous wreck.
I had one of those in my living room, and but it's not very loud, but it's pretty. It's loud enough, and like my friend's kid or my kid's friends came over, and I was about to go to the doctor, so I was like, I told this kid's been around forever. He's like one of my kids, so I was like, John, you stay here and hang out, and I'm gonna go to the doctor. And we'll be back in like 3 hours. So him and this other kid, like 2 other people, they're sitting like playing video games and stuff. I'm at the doctor, and I look on the camera, and I see him, and he's standing by the TV, and I just go, John. He's like, what? And they're like, what are you talking about? Did y'all call me? No. He wasn't John. He was like, are y'all fucking with me? That's not funny. And then he bent down to pick something up. His head was right by the camera. And I went, John, I'm going to kill you.
Oh my God.
And whatever he was picking up, he picked it up. He just threw it on the ground. And he went, fuck this, I'm leaving.
Oh my God. That reminds me of this. By the way, you can still buy these online. So have fun with this. If you hear this and you're like, hey, I want to screw with somebody really badly. So you can buy like this little teeny tiny device that will fit inside a vent register or whatever you want, wherever you can hide it. And it will sporadically on some kind of random number generator play very quietly. Help me.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
So like it may go hours or days without playing the sound, and you might not hear it because it's really subtle and quiet, but when you're by yourself sometimes and it's quiet, you will hear the thing. It's like a hell of a prank.
I was watching this police body cam video the other day, and these sheriffs, they got a call that somebody was screaming help on this farm. So they go out there and they hear it's like, oh, help. And so they all draw their weapons, and they're all like spreading out, coming in, and it's loud, and they kick in the door to the barn. They come in like 2 different places, and it's a goat. She's going, help. You know, goat scream.
Oh yeah.
Fucking goat. And they like all bust in there, and it's just a goat yelling. It was pretty funny. Oh, it's spoken what the dogs ate. Willow ate a can of cheese yesterday.
Sounds
of cheese.
It's like the update of what she eats every day.
A whole can of cheese.
It was like a whole can of fish food last week, I think.
That was an industrial sized like tub of fish food. Yeah.
Fish food is so disgusting. Have you guys ever smelled like to take a fish food?
It was in the living room, dude. When the dog licks it, it turns into a crusty paste.
Ew, that's really gross. But funny story, I once kept a bag of that in my glove box for no good reason. And I got pulled over and searched. And the cop was like, what is this? And he smells it. He's like, it's fish food, sir. It was fantastic.
I'm going to get some like oregano and just put like that fart, this oil in there.
Oh.
So like, what is it?
Don't use that oregano.
Fart spray. No, the dog chews on the pipes.
Oh.
The sink. Other things. Just, yeah.
My dog is perfect. She doesn't chew on anything besides toys.
Well, my dog is an 80-pound 4-month-old puppy. that almost 6 feet. When she stands up, she takes pots out of the sink. She it's a horrible creature. She really is. She's the devil.
Gotta teach her to do the dishes. There you go.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's
Get
training.
that.
She
Get her
ignores
trained
me.
up.
I think we're gonna get kicked out of here kind of soonish in like 10 minutes. Any other like current events we want to talk about, or we can just talk about dogs?
I mean, there's horrible things going on. Well, there's good things going on. The Catholic Church was called out for covering up over 200 or 2,000 children just in Illinois being harmed by diocese. And that was precipitated by a investigation that came out of Pennsylvania by special counsel. So there was investigation in Pennsylvania first, but they did like a press release out of Illinois disclosing the 2,000 children that were harmed by the Catholic Church. That's just the ones that were covered up. There were many more children harmed. So that's being exposed, hopefully all over the world. So,
that is good.
Yes, it is good.
It's bad. It's not good. It's good that it's found out.
It's good that it's found out.
Yeah.
It's good that it's being exposed.
The world still works, and it also proves that we don't have to have a giant totalitarian internet censor in order to catch crimes. Like it works without that. So here's an example, right?
Great point.
What about the archdiocese? You got the diocese, archdiocese.
Well, those organizations, man, those
It's a
little
diocese.
structures. Little structures are just bizarre. But the bureaucracy in that organization is one that I have not taken the time to unravel mentally.
I just learned what a dais is. I don't even know about that.
A dais?
Yeah.
Like a patio?
No, like when there's a bunch of people on a panel.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And it was hard to not say Ama. Dais? Robbie Amadeus. I can't, yeah.
Fantastic. Also in the news, there's something else. What was it? Oh yeah, it was the Florida thing. They've actually updated their UCC to exclude central bank digital currencies.
Cool.
Which is pretty cool.
And New York's rolling back their
that was interesting.
Wait, they're pulling the bit
Interesting
license?
that it's not reported on. John, do you know about this?
They're not pulling the bit license, are they?
They're
Can you say that one
dropping
more
their COVID vaccine mandate for all healthcare workers.
I didn't know it was for healthcare workers. I did hear that. I honestly heard about it, and then it didn't really register with me that was a thing. But it was basically like we're not going to require COVID vaccines for stuff anymore. I think they've kind of been like, well, if you were going to get it, you were going to get it by now. And at this point, what else are we going to do? I mean, like, I don't know how a lot of people feel about it, but there was like a giant backlash in like that medical community for people that didn't want to get vaccinated and stuff like that, being like, well, if you don't believe in this, like, why are you doing medicine? And there was a lot of backlash with like, especially like nurses and stuff like that didn't want it. It's like, well, this is kind of what you need to do in order to work here, just so that like we can do our due diligence and making sure you're going to be okay. But also I think it's good to be like, hey, we're really finding out like kind of how much you believe in what you're doing. It's kind of nice.
Well, I mean, at the same time though, right? Like now we're seeing that the objections that people were raising to it were completely fair, right? Like it didn't actually prevent transmission.
And it wasn't tested properly.
And I thought that was the biggest red flag, is that the medical community doesn't want to take it.
Right. Like you shouldn't have to, I mean, you really shouldn't.
Backlash. That
General rule of all products is like, if it's a good thing that people should want to take, then you shouldn't have to impose a rule that says you have to, right? Like it should work without imposition.
The only thing I'd say to that is like, it's kind of like there's
nobody's saying we shouldn't get polio vaccines, right?
No, well, I mean, there were people, a lot of the same. That's the thing, is like a lot of the people that were like, "Oh, I don't want to get vaccinated," were also the people that like didn't believe in
I feel
vaccines or
like
something like
that
that.
may be more the story than the reality.
Yeah, I don't think that's real.
Because I know very few people who so I'm one of the people who didn't think that it should be required, right? And I know a lot of people who also think it shouldn't be required, that were also in the camp of just not this particular one, not all of them, right? Like there are definitely some of those out there, but they're more on the fringe of it, I would say.
I hear what you're saying. So one is, you're like, that's not true. I mean, I saw the Facebook posts. Like, there's private Facebook posts of people in like medical groups going, "I don't want this. I don't believe this. I don't think we should get any vaccines whatsoever." Like, those are the same
Right.
people.
Well, but
So
yeah,
I've
we
seen,
also, it's the internet, right? Like that.
well,
It's very easy, for example, to say that the majority of the things happening are the people speaking loudest, and we actually technically don't even know who those people were, right? Like they could literally have been the same person saying it from 5 different accounts, or it could have been somebody who believed the opposite, that was trolling everybody. We don't know.
Well, I'm telling you that these were like private medical Facebook groups where people knew each other and had been interacting with each other for years. Right. And then we find out, then this comes up, and they're like, "Oh, we find out that this is something that you feel that doesn't really align with a lot of people in medicine."
Right. Informed consent is literally undermined. Like the concept of informed consent is literally directly undermined by the notion that that you are informed and you decline and you can't, like, or you're informed and you decline and you lose your job, right? Like that's the same thing as saying you can't.
Mm-hmm.
It undermines informed consent. It's fundamentally.
And personally, I knew a lot of people in the medical community and that were just no, this hasn't been tested properly. No, I don't trust it. I'm not going to get it. It's not that they're I don't know any anti-vaxxers. Maybe one or two.
And setting aside the facts of it,
a lot of people that just were
right to say.
And what happened to HIPAA? What happened to HIPAA? No one should even know whether you had it or not. And if it ever worked, it shouldn't matter whether somebody else had it, because if you believe in it so much and you had it, you would be protected from anyone else who didn't have it.
Right.
That's
and it was
point
never
of a vaccine.
Right. And it was really never gonna be that, right? Like, and
no,
I think the question right now is, how much was that known beforehand, and how much of the data was just ignored when it started to shift the other way? Like the public conversation being stifled and mandates and all that stuff, probably not a good way to do public health, right? It never really has.
I think because this time around it was political. It wasn't.
Right. And I'm not saying one way or the other if it was bad, right? I'm just saying that should be people's individual choice, right? And that's always been what it has been up until sort of the weird shift that we went through, where they tried to make it the opposite.
Yeah. I don't know. I think definitely being like kind of able to see and hear a lot of stuff. One, that could, this is literally like sometimes I think we forget, like, but like it was literally a pandemic, like,
right. Oh, yeah,
and a lot of us were sitting at home, working from home and stuff like that,
right? Yeah.
Which is really rough. And I know that there were just like a lot of heated feelings and stuff like that in the medical community at the time. A crazy amount of burnout in the medical community, just because the conditions they were working under were ridiculous. They also then didn't receive
ridiculous too.
Well, even more so. It was like having the worst day at the office every day at the office for 2 years, right?
Right.
And also, like, we're still not coming back from it yet. Hospitals weren't making as much money during that time either, and then because you weren't getting like high acuity kind of things that you can bill for.
They were getting extra money every time they wrote COVID on the chart.
Speaking of high acuity, in 2 years, we have less than 2 minutes, so we have to end the show, or else we get in trouble. So.
Yeah. There's actually a lot to cover on this topic, and John, I get that you're coming from a place of maybe not near where someone like myself or Sean or Lisa are coming from on the subject, and that's totally cool. We're not. We're not a panel of people. One of the cool things I've always liked about the show is we've always been able to talk openly about.
We're not a dais
about things we don't agree on, But I don't think this is something that we shouldn't talk about because we don't agree on it. Because
I think it's something we should 100% talk about next month on the healthcare episode of World Blockchain Roundtable. So put those questions in the comments. We've got a minute. Amanda, if you're here, let's kick us out whenever you're ready. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Go crash Twitter Spaces. Have fun out there. Eat pizza and order it with Bitcoin. Have a good one.
Yep. Good.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all the